Hi.
We
Middle.
kids
And
These.
records.
In.
my
Life?
Hi guys, thanks for checking out Records in My Life. We're here with Hannah, Tim, and Harry from Middle Kids. Thanks for being on the show, guys.
Thank you for having us.
As you know, this show is about our favorite records and your favorite records, so we're going to talk about a few of those. So let's start about, you guys are from Australia. Let's talk about an Australian artist, an album.
Yeah, sure. I guess, like, for me and Tim, you used to listen to this record. There are Tame Impala, who are pretty huge here right now in North America. Their first release they did, it's not actually an album, it was an EP, but that was like, it was a really exciting record. I remember I was probably like 15 years old and I was just really getting into music, and it was, I just remember it was so exciting. It was pretty lo-fi, and it's kind of like, it's cool watching them, their progression from like that lo-fi sound to like their latest record, which is like very well produced, and but there were just like some amazing songs, and it had kind of like that 60s thing that Kevin Parker loves to do, but also this kind of rawness. And I remember I like used to like go running on the beach when I was like on summer holidays to that record. So that was a good one for me.
That's how you got that bod.
Well, that's how I got this, maintain this figure, yeah.
So do you guys have a favorite Australian record?
I guess there's lots. One that's maybe, I guess, influential in a way is Born Sandy Devotional by the Triffids. They're a Western Australian band in the like 80s and 90s, I guess. And one thing that's cool about them is that one of their guys got really into pedal steel, and he sort of spent a year learning pedal steel for that album. I think it was that one. And I really like pedal steel, and I've been sort of trying to learn a little bit of that instrument. So I think it's really an American instrument, and it's not so much a part of Australian culture, but it's a really beautiful sound. So I think that was cool hearing what they did with it as an Australian band. And they're sort of very expansive sounding music, and they were experimenting with synthesizers as well. Sort of the thing is that they were trying to evoke the sort of wide open landscape of the Western Australian desert, which is kind of cool.
Good. I think for me, there's one of our contemporaries, actually, her name's Jaclyn. She released a record last year called Don't Let the Kids Win, and that was a really moving record for me, probably one of my favourite records of last year, because I just, like, she's got this insane voice, but it's just really about her voice and the lyrics and the narratives that she kind of writes. And I think often when I write, I like am scared to be that vulnerable, so I shove all this stuff in around it. But I really love just like being in those songs, and it's just like, oh, it's so beautiful. It's seriously, such a great record. And that thing just spins all the time in our house.
Yeah, she got a lot of, positive press here, because she did a lot of did a lot of tours in North America. I think the record's pretty well received. We kind of see like spatterings of her. We saw her kind of recently in New York, and I think she's having a good time. Well, let's do a fun one. Off the somber note, we'll do so let's do a favorite meal, and then what to listen to while you're cooking your favorite meal.
Well, it's a good question, because we are in our house is where we recorded most of the album, and so we've had a lot of cool moments of like in between making the album and then turning a record and making a meal, la la la. So, but one album I really like listening to is it's kind of still somber, but it's Carrie and Lowell, Sufjan Stevens, and but it's like it's so beautiful, and I feel, and maybe because I actually legit like cook to it, and so it. I don't know, it's kind of, it's so sad, that record, but it's actually like really uplifting at the same time for me. And I just like love cooking to it, because I feel like I'm making something really amazing when it's like stir fry, but still.
What about a record that you wish you could have been in the studio or part of the making of?
Oh yeah, I was going to do a Pixies record. I think I'm going to do another one, which is one that they made a documentary about, which is Blood Sugar Sex Magic by the Chili Peppers. I think that there's a lot of really awesome bands and albums, but I think that seeing some glimpses in this documentary they made, which was called Funky Monks, into those sessions, I thought it was really inspiring, and we watched it a few months ago, and I think the thing we took away from it was how they're incredible musicians, and they're sort of in their prime, they're sort of in their early 20s, discovering, and they're so skillful on their instruments, but they're very committed to like finding the sound. And Rick Rubin's there, they're in a house in LA. I don't know, I feel like that, and that album just sounds really punchy, unique. I kind of think that they're a funny band because they're one that gets like skipped over sometimes when people talk about the influences, but I think that basically every musician I know who got really into their craft when they were a teenager at some point loved the Chili Peppers.
Coloring book.
Yeah.
Chance the Rapper.
Yeah, that's sick.
Because, well, I mean, I would have loved to be in there because of all the features that are on it, like Justin Bieber, Kanye, Lil Wayne. So it would have been fun to be there. But also because I really, I just love so much of what he explores and his perspective. And there's so many cool elements. Like, it's super badass, but then like really hopeful, and then like such strong gospel elements. And it felt like a really, like, I think something we feel so excited about music is that its ability to engage communities and people and togetherness. And I just think that album was like so powerful for like Chicago and a lot of communities that, so that's a very exciting record to me in that way.
Let's do one last one. You guys have been great sports. Really appreciate you doing it. We live in a lot of bands, what they're doing now, you probably know, they do a whole album live. A lot of like bands that we formed and stuff like that. Is there an album which you would love to see perform live?
Yes. I mean, I will say Hail to the Thief.
Yeah.
The whole of it. Like, it is one of my favorite albums in the whole world, and it goes so many crazy places. And I know some people don't like this album because of that, but I just am obsessed. And to see them do it live would be... Oh, Radiohead. Don't even say it. I'm bad at this.
No.
Anyways. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
No, yeah, I'd like to be there.
Yeah. Do you want another one? Actually, speaking of,
more?
this is a great one to conclude on because it's actually like, there's a band that Flea and Tom York are in called Atoms for Peace.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And actually, that's the one that I would have loved to have been there when they recorded it, because they like jammed for like hours and then took the like stems away, and then like Tom York and Nigel Godrich like kind of produced the record and he wrote lyrics. But then I've seen like footage of them playing it live, and I think it like makes a lot of sense of the record just watching the live footage, because it kind of takes on this whole new energy. Because sometimes that record kind of sits like in terms of the energy in a bandwidth that's not as like dynamic as some, but then when I watch like live footage of them, like Flea's just going, and Tom York, you know, like their stage presence is just insane.
It's nuts.
And they just like are going crazy, and it's so percussive, and like seeing that was like a live show I'd love to see them play that record.
So good.
Guys, thank you so much for being on Records in My Life. And do you have any messages or words of wisdom for the
Tim does.
For the world out there?
Tim's always got a little something. Little nugget.
Don't be afraid to look inside your heart, and don't be afraid of the darkness that may be there, because there's light at the end of that darkness.
Fingers crossed.
I love that.
I really love it. There's an album in there.